The story begins at the Jamsil bus station in Seoul. There's a young man talking to his boss on the phone. He tells his boss not to worry and informs him that the bus will be arriving at his stop soon and that he shouldn't have any problem getting to the meeting on time. His boss tells the young man that it was a major deal and that he cannot mess it up and that he needs results, not promises. The young man reassures his boss that he does not need to worry. The ground begins to shake where the young man is standing. A crack appears in the middle of the city. As the crack grew larger, people couldn't believe what they were seeing. Suddenly the crack bursts open, and a horde of goblin monsters appears. Someone shouts at everyone to run because it was an outbreak. An outbreak is explained as a phenomenon in which a portal connected to another dimension opens, allowing monsters to invade into the world. Amidst the chaos, the young man saw a little girl had fallen and was lying on the street. He quickly runs over to her and tells her not to cry and to take his hand. As he picked her up, he saw that he was surrounded by goblins. He realizes that it is too late for them to escape. He closes his eyes thinking that it is all over now. However, as he is waiting with the little girl in his arms, he wonders why he hasn't felt any pain. He hears a voice asking them if they are okay. The young man and the little girl open their eyes and see a man and a young woman standing in front of them. As the young woman sheathes her sword, she tells them that they were safe now. These two individuals are known as the Awakened, people who have been chosen by deists to fight against monsters that come through portals known as dimensional gates. At the office, a man named Do Hyuk is being scolded by his manager. His manager emphasized how the meeting was important. He criticizes him for how he dared to return without closing the deal. He then says that if there was an outbreak, he should have just run away and gone straight to the meeting with the client. The manager throws an envelope at his face and tells him that this is his last chance. If he fails again, he will be fired. He instructs him to have the contract signed by tonight and to report back to him. Later that day, Do Hyuk is having a conversation with a colleague outside. Do Hyuk is frustrated, and he asks, what the hell is wrong with the boss? There was no way for him to foresee an outbreak and to avoid it. His colleague agrees, and remarks how the boss made such a fuss over one mistake. Do Hyuk with a sigh, then talks about how he wants to become an Awakened and earn some money. His colleague asks him if he is seriously bringing this topic up again. Do Hyuk replies, why not? It would be great if he became an Awakened because it would be like playing his favorite game, DNF. That game was the one thing he was really good at. His colleague tells him to be realistic and asks him if it is really possible. Do Hyuk agrees and explains that he was getting all worked up after being grilled by his boss. Moments later, his bus arrives. As Do Hyuk runs to catch his bus, his colleague wishes him good luck. It was 6 p.m. and the sun was setting when Do Hyuk arrived at the site where he was supposed to meet with the client. He stands in the middle of a parking lot and he wonders why the meeting location was so far out. Nonetheless, he was determined to have the contract signed, because he knew that his boss was not going to give him another chance and he would lose his job. Suddenly, the ground begins to shake, and Do Hyuk wonders if it is an earthquake. Then, a dimensional crack appears in the space in front of him. Do Hyuk could not believe what was happening and he yelled out asking if this is seriously happening to him again, twice in one day. He hears the security guard at the gate yelling to quickly take cover there. Do Hyuk starts running toward the gate as goblins begin to appear. The goblins chase him and eventually catch up with him. Do Hyuk looked over his shoulder and saw that one of the goblins got a hold of his briefcase. He quickly turns around and punches the goblin in the face, shouting that the contract is his life. After realizing what he has done, he freezes. Suddenly, the security guard quickly appears and grabs him from behind and pulls him in, shutting the gate on the goblins. The security guard presses a button on a device and activates the electric barrier, shocking the goblins and keeping them at bay. The security guard informs Do Hyuk that the awakened in the area will be arriving soon. Sometime later, 3 large vehicles transporting a guild team of the awakened quickly arrive at the scene. As the members of the team step out of the van, one person comments on how there are quite few goblins, noting that they can make some money. Among the members who have arrived was a man named Chul Jung Kim, an E rank, known as Fire Fist. The guild team takes charge and faces the goblins head-on, attacking with various skills. Within a short time, the team took out all the goblins at the site. Do Hyuk is amazed by what he saw and says that the awakened are so cool. Then, he realized that he had lost his briefcase and went into the parking lot searching for it. He is interrupted by a man and a woman from the guild. They tell him that he should not be there because they were still cleaning up. Do Hyuk apologizes and tells them that he was in a hurry. A person holding a briefcase asks Do Hyuk if he was looking for it. He replies that it belonged to him and thanks him. The person who found his briefcase was Chul Jung Kim, and he happens to be the guild master. Chul Jung Kim tells him that it wasn't a problem and explains that it is their duty as awakened to help the weak and that only those who were chosen by Deus can bring about justice. Suddenly, Do Hyuk and Chul Jung Kim hear a scream. When they turn around to look, they see a giant goblin holding one of the guild members in its hand. The giant goblin lets out a loud roar. Chul Jung Kim shouts at Do Hyuk to take cover. However, Do Hyuk could not move because he was literally paralyzed due to the goblin's roar. Chul Jung Kim instructs him to run away as soon as he can move his body again, and he orders the other guild members who have not been affected by the roar to help defeat the giant goblin. Chul Jung Kim says that he will buy some time and rushes to face the giant goblin head-on. As Do Hyuk watches the scene, his eyes fling wide open in terror. He could not believe that the guild master was defeated instantly. Everyone at the scene shouted that they needed to run because they were no match for the giant goblin. The giant goblin notices Do Hyuk and begins to approach him with a big grin on his face. Do Hyuk, helpless and still unable to move, falls into despair, wondering if his already pathetic life would end this way. He didn't want to die. As the giant goblin swings its club at him, he yells at the world saying that he doesn't want to die. In that moment, an announcement, "You have been awakened," appears. The giant goblin looks down at the ground, confused because it doesn't see anything, except for broken pavement. Do Hyuk finds himself sitting on the ground, away from the giant goblin. Confused, he realizes that he is alive, and sees that his body is still in one piece. A system notification suddenly appears informing him that he had been awakened and that he can use his abilities according to the DNF rules. DNF was the name of his favorite game he had mentioned to his colleague earlier that day. He sees another notification stating that, for a smooth transition into the system, useful experiences will be downloaded into the awakened Do Hyuk. He hears someone shouting at him that he needs to run, and he sees the giant goblin charging towards him. The system notification reappears, alerting that an imminent danger has been detected and the system will take temporary control over the awakened person's body. Suddenly, Do Hyuk's eyes turn blue and his persona changes completely to that of someone who is serious and focused. As the giant goblin approaches Do Hyuk, he is seen gathering what appears to be small blue orbs of lights in his hand. Do Hyuk aims toward the giant goblin and unleashes the blue orbs, stopping the giant goblin in its tracks. It is noted that the move that Do Hyuk just used is called Magic Missile. 2 guild members were nearby to witness what had transpired. They were a little confused by what they saw because they thought that Do Hyuk was just an ordinary person. However, after seeing how he was able to dodge the large goblin's attack, they concluded that he had just been awakened. They wondered about his rank because of the kind of power he displayed. Meanwhile, Do Hyuk slides in between the giant goblin's legs to position himself for another attack from behind. He calls out Burning Hands, which causes a fiery explosion. The giant goblin fights back and lunges toward Do Hyuk. Do Hyuk calls out a shield to block the giant goblin's attack. He then notices a sword lying on the ground nearby. He quickly grabs the weapon and runs towards the giant goblin, preparing for another attack. As he approaches the giant goblin, he calls out, "Enchanted weapon," causing the sword to glow blue. He swiftly deals one final blow on the giant goblin. As he watches the giant goblin disintegrate, a system notification appears stating that the threat has been eliminated and that control over the awakened person's body has been returned. The two guild members who have been watching the entire battle were shocked. They believe Do Hyuk might be an awakened individual with dual powers. Do Hyuk Park is an awakened from this point on.